Well, let's go straight to the top story at this hour. Dan Coats, the director of the U.S. National Intelligence, is leaving his job next month. His resignation will end a 2-year tenure marked by President Donald Trump's clashes with intelligence officials. A Trump appointee, Coats served as a director for national intelligence since March of 2017. Over the years, he clashed with his boss, taking a hard line toward Russia that sharply contrasted with the approach Trump is pursuing towards his Russian counterpart. In fact, in January, Coats has told the Congress that North Korea was unlikely to give up its nuclear weapons, contradicting Trump's statement that Pyongyang no longer poses a threat. Trump has confirmed Coats' departure in a tweet thanking him for his service, saying that he will step down on August 15th. He said that he's nominating Texas Congressman and fellow Republican John Ratcliffe to the post, and that he will name an acting official in the coming days. Ratcliffe is a frequent Trump defender who tore into former special counsel Robert Mueller during his testimony on Russian meddling in U.S. elections. He had drawn national attention earlier this week for delivering an aggressive, jibe against Mueller. In fact, American dailies have reported how Ratcliffe had met privately with Trump at the White House to discuss his interest in the job.
Greed corrupts.
Shifting focus, at least 65 people have been killed in an attack on a funeral in Nigeria's Borno region over the weekend. This is thrice the initial death toll reported. At least, 10 others have been injured. This is also one of the deadliest attacks on civilians in the recent years. Although no one has claimed responsibility for the attack immediately, reports suggest that Boko Haram was behind this attack. Suspected Islamists targeted a funeral gathering and killed more than 20 people. They killed dozens more as the people tried to chase after them. The relatives were seen collecting the bodies of those killed for their burial. They gathered to pay respects to the victims of the attack. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the attack and directed the military to hunt down the perpetrators. A local anti-Boko Haram militia leader said that the attack might be in retaliation to the killing of 11 Boko Haram fighters by residents 2 weeks ago. The Boko Haram have repeatedly attacked the Borno region. The conflict is, in the region has lasted for a decade and thousands have been killed. A day after Hong Kong police used tear gas, pepper spray and rubber bullets against demonstrators, thousands of protesters have come out on the streets against the police. The police fired tear gas and rubber bullets at crowds of protesters yesterday. Demonstrators had taken to the streets to demand action over an attack a week earlier by suspected criminal gangs known as the Triads. Mass protests in the former British colony over a proposed extradition bill are now in their third month as clashes between pro- and anti-Beijing factions increasingly turn ugly. Mass protests have become a regular weekend activity for Hong Kong residents amid public resentment over police violence, while leader Carrie Lam's failure to address the unrest grows. Earlier this month, protesters stormed the legislature building, vandalizing the structure and spray painting slogans. 6 days ago, the protesters aimed straight for the Chinese seat of power in Hong Kong. The Chinese representative office, they also blackened the emblem of the Chinese government, hurled eggs and paint bombs at the building, and threw poles at the police personnel who tried to stop them. For 8 weeks, these protests have challenged Beijing's authority over Hong Kong, embroiling the city-state in its worst political crisis. Apart from the extradition bill, police inaction and what the protesters claim is police apathy have been at the center of the agitation since last week. Earlier, we spoke to our correspondent Patrick Fogg, who is in Hong Kong. Listen in.
Yeah, that's right. But things have been rather different today. It's been incredibly tense here out in Central. There was, of course, a protest that was planned to take place from Cheta Garden to Sun Yat-sen Memorial Garden, which is just to the right of me. And there was always that possibility of protesters trying to move on to the Beijing liaison office, where they vandalized the place last week and, of course, provoked Beijing in doing so. But the protesters were here just about an hour ago, and they've been pushed back by the police, who fired several rounds of tear gas and rubber bullets, and the situation was incredibly tense, and the police have been advancing very quickly indeed, determined to keep them well away from the liaison office. And I think that's an indication of just how important a symbol the liaison office is. It is the highest authority of the central government in the city.